Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Welcome. uh, so Janice had asked me last week, sent me an email asking the difference between an attachment and a preference. Because what you want to do as you continue to grow and evolve, and you're releasing your karma and you're releasing everything, you have to become, you're living in this world, so you cannot really be completely non-attached to everything. So there is a degree to which you're connected to things, which is that you have preferences. You have a preference that the world is not at war. You have a preference that your family or everybody in your family get along. You have a preference that you know that politicians are more ethical and truthful. But if they are not, you're not gonna start foaming from the mouth and start screaming and yelling like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. That's the definition. You cannot, if you're reacting emotionally so strongly and so powerfully that your voice is being raised and you are screaming and yelling and you're trying to convince everybody your point and my point. My point is, and you're trying to tell people, and you're attached to your own sense of being right. And in all honesty, it's not relevant. I was having a conversation with my two senior friends that I see on, as long as weather permitting, on the waterfront when I go meditate. And the lady that I'm with is a little bit more spiritual. The other man, he was in the army in Vietnam. He's older. He's a nice guy, wonderful person, but he's a little bit more stubborn in his way and his thinking. And I forgot what the conversation was because it's not important. And she kept on trying to convince him of a different way. And she kept on going on and going on and going on. I didn't say anything. And then finally, I just sat back and watched this dynamic. And then finally, they both turned around and said to me, Pierre, what do you think? In the meantime, the gentleman is protesting. I don't care. I'm not interested in that. And then I looked at the both of them and I said, when somebody tells me no, they're not interested, tell me something, and they say, I'm trying to bring in information to you, and you tell me no, I'm halfway down the block before you close your mouth. I don't have an attachment to me convincing you. If I'm bringing the information, you welcome it, that's terrific. We can talk, and I can go deeper into the detail. But if you tell me no, you're not interested, I don't need to convince you. Now, after we parted ways, I was walking back home. The older my friend, the female, she lives closer by me, so we're working the same direction. And I went into some more detail because she calmed down. She said, Pierre, you taught me a deep lesson today. What did you mean by that? And I explained it to her. I said, I don't have an investment. I don't care. I don't have to be right. He has the right to believe what he believes. And if he's not there, he's not ready, God is capable of reaching him the same way God reached me to put the insight that I have. And I have to give him the privilege and the honor of struggling and removing shame so that God can reach him and bring him to the same understanding. It is not my responsibility, because I think I know, to share that, to force that knowledge in somebody else's throat. So that's one way of seeing preference. It would be great if he were to understanding. It turns out that I happen to agree with her, and he happened to have his own way of, he's moving through his own understanding. And I have to give him the privilege to move on to that understanding and to get to it whenever he needs to get to it. Now we can be attached to objects too, to things that are in our home, environment. And releasing that attachment will be a progressive work because they have memories that they're connected to. So if you have objects and things in your home and you're trying to unclutter and you need to release this or that, the other, there are people who won't throw anything out. And if you're one of these people, thank God I'm not in that space anymore. If I haven't worn it in more than 7 years, the likelihood that that style is going to come back, there's a reason why I haven't worn it. It may be in good quality, good, but there are, I'm not gonna, there's, if I try to wear it right now, I will think that it's out of style. So I rather send it to Goodwill or donate it to somebody that can enjoy it. I remember I had this antique Dolce & Gabbana, beautiful, and it was very warm coat, except it was a gift, except a Christmas gift, but except the lapel was too wide open. As you can notice, I wear everything mock neck because I get cold like this. I catch a cold like this if my neck is not covered. So in all honesty, the very expensive coat I wore only twice. And it was sitting in my closet for 10 years. And one day I decided I'm going to gift it to somebody because it doesn't make any sense for me to hold this, because it was a gift from somebody that I can't give it away to someone else. Because every time I open it, I have to wear a scarf. I get a cold. I catch a cold because my upper neck is exposed. And so I was able to gift it. So what I'm saying is that I'm at a point where I can, it's not that there are certain things I'm still attached to. There are 2 pieces of garment in my closet that I refuse to let go of. Okay, I'm working my way through it, but there are 2 pants that I still cannot find a way to give to someone. But in the meantime, everything else I can give. Did that help answer your question, Janice?
Those are all very good points. What about something more significant, like your upstate property? What if that, God forbid, knock on wood, you should lose that? Would that be upsetting to you? And is the degree of upset the indicator whether it was a preference? Or
I don't have an attachment to that neither.
So there would be no sadness if that were to go. Or
it's not my preference. I wouldn't want it to happen. But if it were to happen, it's okay. Because it does not define me.
Okay.
I can, I am more than that.
Okay. I was trying to find something more meaningful than a piece of clothing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That
Yes.
Because I'm struggling a little bit with things, as Monty is no longer here, that are like losing him again by tearing them away. That's an emotional attachment of maybe out of grief, but I don't know if otherwise that would be an attachment or preference, or is it something unique unto itself?
Well, okay, the best way I can say this, it's not like you don't go out of your way trying to get rid of it just because you're trying to demonstrate to yourself you don't have attachments. But if it so happened that you begin to realize you're too attached to things, you need to let them go. And I can, my friend was the Buddhist priest, twice moved, and his most recent move is that he lost in the shipping company because he moved out of the country, moved to still in American territory in Puerto Rico, but as he moved, all of his stuff, the company that shipping company that he sent it to, went bankrupt. He lost everything. Except for the stuff that he moved with in his suitcase, including, thank God for him, the presence of mind, some of his immediate altar stuff. But he had all these other, because he was a Buddhist monk, he has all these objects that are really sacred and important to him. He lost everything. And he could have gotten upset, and he did initially get upset, and then after that he calmed down. He said, okay, it's clear that I didn't need it. I'm gonna start from zero again. I remember him saying that his bed, because he has all this back problem, and his bed cost him a lot of thousands of dollars. Because, you know, it's one of those bed with remote that you can lift parts, and he had to buy a new one. Because for months he was sleeping in them for over 6 months on the air mattress and getting all kind of back conditions. So he said, okay, now that I know the company is gone, because they were initially lying to him. It's still in Jersey, it's still in Newark, you're gonna have it in a month. You know, and then finally, no answers, and finally you find out the company is back up. It's gone. So for him, it was an exercise of releasing attachments. So sometimes the universe orchestrates things for you that allow you to experience a non-attachment. Okay? You're not gonna go force it, but if you feel that there are certain things you cannot live without, there are certain connection or relationship you cannot live without them, you cannot be whole, you need to work on finding a way to know that this is a preference. Should this relationship end, it's not gonna end me. I'm still gonna be whole, I'm still gonna be myself. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I want to bring to the start the class by saying that something unusual happened last week, the middle of this week, just passed. I think it was January 29th. The Sesame Street Twitter account of Elmo, the little red character from Sesame Street, the person who was managing that account tweeted out, Elmo checking in. How is everybody doing? And the response was extraordinary. Yesterday, when I checked, yesterday evening, that little 2-sentence had been seen 207 million times. There were over 20,000 responses from people saying that I'm depressed, I lost my job, I hate my work, I am suicidal, to Fortune 500 companies. It was actually on CNN, and the interviewer on CNN, Jake Tapper, interviewed Elmo because he called it an internet trauma dump. And to my mind, this is a snapshot of the collective unconscious of humanity and how much people on the planet at this moment are in fear. And it took a puppet, a beloved character that's almost archetypical, to ask a simple question for people to tell the truth. And and this is what I've been teaching you, but my upcoming book, again, 1 chapter left, but what my upcoming book is about, which is to kind of respond, showing people. And by the way, in the interview, Elmo and one of the lead person at Sesame Street were developing program because of this amount of overwhelming response on how to let Elmo teach people how to manage their fear. Deep breathing exercise. This is Sesame Street. They're talking about whom, and by the way, I didn't read all the responses from Elmo, but when you look at all of the posting, whomever responded was highly socially intelligent. This is somebody that's trained because they all said the right things. And I'm saying this because I want to give people an understanding, all of us an understanding that we're not alone. Viewed as of yesterday, I don't know how much it is tonight, but yesterday it was 207 million views of that one post. In one day, in 24 hours, it had been viewed 180 million times. So people are truly afraid. My perception that the collective unconscious is in fear and we're all going through is correct. We're in fears. There's so much uncertainty, food pricing, social, political, weather pattern, climate change, family and friends that we're seeing that we're not recognizing anymore because they are in fear and they are trying to cover it up with trying to an appearance of control. Yet every once in a while they strike out by being mean and explosive and saying things that are unkind, and we don't realize this. We're not acknowledging the real problem. We feel unsafe. We are unsafe. And we are venturing in unknown territory. This is the characteristic of a Bardo, which is in Tibetan Buddhism, Bardo is a gap or intermediary state that exists between two things, like between being awake or being asleep, or being alive or being dead or reincarnated, or inhalation and exhalation. In yoga practice, they call this that intermediary state, it's the sweet spot, okay? Which is between inhalation and then you're about to exhale and then you inhale. And then there is a pause. That pause is the key to enlightenment. And then when you pause, you know, from inhalation to exhalation, that pause is the gap. It's the gap. It's the intermediary state. In yoga practice, that pause is where you experience God. So although there's a lot of fear because of that, because we're going to a long stretch of intermediate state now, and we will continue to go through it past 2030. It's a long stretch to be experiencing all kinds of things that are coming our way. So we have to be very careful that we kind of limit our exposure to things that can begin to create crisis for us. People that we know are difficult or going to moment or we know is no longer on our wavelength, although we may have history with them. And again, John is talking about attachment. There are friends and people, and maybe even family members that you have memories with. You could be attached to them and try to convince them that they should be there. Why aren't you doing this way? Let it go. Because they're on a different bus. And so the idea is to expose yourself, because what's going on during that transition, during that long stretch of Bardo, is that our karma is getting accelerated. There's an acceleration in our karma, which means what? Situation will present itself that are karmically based, that will be triggered by people, by places, by things, and that will cause us all kinds of evil emotionally and psychologically. So what is it that you're going through that's going to trigger, what kind of feelings and emotion is this going to trigger for you? And sometime when too many triggers, too many karmic triggers are coming in all different directions at the same time. I was 3 years ago when I was at the height of my crisis. The feeling or the emotion that I can say to you was the overwhelming thing that presented itself to me. It wasn't so much being overwhelmed as it is to be a sense of being frozen and disempowered and incapable. It's not that intelligently I didn't know you need to do this to address that. You need to do this to address. People, you could be telling them, you need to do this, that, or the other. Emotionally, where they are stuck on this glue trap, they are incapable of registering it. They're not hearing you because where they are, because they feel so emotionally incapable and undeserving of the change you're trying to tell them to do, they are disempowered to do anything about it. And you need to be compassionate when somebody is going through this. Having gone through it, because a lot of people were telling me all kinds of things, including family members, that I couldn't do. It's not that I didn't know. I remember one family member, I had to say, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I am not capable emotionally to go through it at this moment. I was honest enough to say this. I am not capable. I can't do it. I'm not in that space at this moment. I'm coming out from, around the bend. And I'm very glad about this. But I had to say this to cause some people to register and back off. As I was saying with my two elderly friends that I hang out with, the gentleman has his set in his ways. He's stubborn. He thinks he knows everything. But he's a kind and loving person, and he's still trying to grow. He's 76 years old. He will grow on his own term. It's not for me to try to convince him of what his political or social views should be. He will do it on his own. All I know is that when we're together, we have fun exchange. He's kind. That's all I need to know. It's not going to add or distract anything else from me. But for me to try to constantly move around and try to change people and tell them what they should do, there is no compassion when you know someone is that disempowered. You're not coming from a place of empathy. You're trying to control someone else's outcome by projecting your solution set onto them. They have to evolve into their own solution set. I can suggest one thing or two. If you're not prepared and you don't want to hear it, you will never hear it from me again. I don't need to say it to you, because it's not my responsibility to save you. I'm not the healer. The healer is in you. It's your inner intelligence. And that inner intelligence will provide the proper timing for you to learn the lesson that you need to learn so that you can evolve and you can grow. So when what's going on right now, I have people in my life at this moment who were telling me, do this, don't do that, etc. 3 years ago. Now they're going through their things. And as they're going through the emotional upheaval and they're scared and they're afraid and they don't know what, I don't even understand what I'm afraid of, but I feel this fear. I don't know. And I had to say to them, to one of them, listen, you remember 3 years ago when you couldn't understand what I was feeling? Now you're there now. You're feeling exactly what I was feeling. So I am being kind and compassionate to you. I'm giving you a few ideas on how I dealt with it. I did some query, I did that or the other. Sometimes I couldn't even do the query. I was able to do just some breath control exercise. Sometimes even the breath control I couldn't do. Sometimes I sat stunned, emotionally stunned for 4 hours and trying to figure out, well, how did I get there? What's going on in my life? How come I'm in this situation? So that's what I'm trying to say to you, is that there are lots of things that are going to be, and when more and more of these things are coming in, because you keep exposing yourself to friends, to people, because these friends you have karma with, these institutions you have karma with, this businesses you have karma with, and the more you expose yourself to more and more things when you're in that kind of situation, my suggestion, if you're in that state, isolate yourself, withdraw. Say to your friends and people you may have karma with, I'm busy, I can't hang out for now. And spend the time trying to figure out how to unravel the sense of disempowerment. Because it's not just that you don't have the intelligence to know what you're supposed to do. You emotionally are not capable of doing it. And of course, it's being influenced by the fallen energies. It could be Satan, it could be the Luciferian energy, depending on what your situation is. So to understand that and to have a sense of, okay, this is where I am, and what I can do right now is that I can isolate myself and sit with it to try to, again, this is the way Kuan Yin did her Heart Sutra. She didn't ignore her pain and her suffering. She went in it and she sat with it by isolating herself. And as she did this, she discovered more and more and more about not only her relationship with herself, because one of the things about karma, the way karma unravel itself, the way it resolved itself, is through forgiveness. And that forgiveness, first, it's very easy for us to forgive other people, or at least relatively easy. So if somebody had offended you, etc., you're Christian or you're Buddhist or whatever it is, you're a religious person, you're a spiritual person, you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to forgive you for the offense. Okay? But what many people are not going deep enough or not seeing, karma actually means to repair and to correct. It doesn't mean that I am a victim. So initially, when something is happening to you and you feel besieged by a sense of being overwhelmed or being disempowered by the scale of what's happening around you, the sense is that I am being victimized. This is my karma. I'm the victim. What you need to understand is that in the past that you may not remember, you contributed to this somehow or another. Either by you, on the one hand, either by you in the past offending the person who's offending you now, or even worse, and if that happened, if you happen to discover what the offense is, you need to forgive yourself for having been that person, let's say 100 years ago or 5,000 years ago. If you were that person and you were such a moron and such a a-hole and you did that or the other, you have to forgive yourself for this. And if you discover some dark and horrible things that you do, like torture or killing, etc., that you discover that you did in that past life, the tendency will be, because when you discover these things through past life regression, the tendency will be to immediately begin to, and it's not conscious. Intellectually, you understand that was me 5,000 years ago, and this happened a long time ago. I have now, these people are in my life that I may have done this to do. I'm going to ask the Ho'oponopono toward them. But there's a part of you deep in your core that will continually feel guilty. And also that you deserve in this lifetime to be punished because of what you did. So you need to do the Ho'oponopono to yourself to forgive yourself for all of these past things that you may have done. Because if you had known better, if your consciousness was in the past where you are right now, you would have never done this. Now that you know better, you're going to do better. And then you can say the Ho'oponopono toward that person. So I would start with the Ho'oponopono to self first, after you discover this. Whatever it is that you discover in your past that maybe have been your offense, forgive, please ask forgiveness to your own soul and your own soul stream for being so dumb, stupid, or even sometimes it's mental illness in past lives, or mentally ill, or too much of a narcissist, or whatever it may be. Because none of us were completely saints. And more to the point, as you move forward, then you can go ahead and do the Ho'oponopono toward the person. Because the moment you begin to forgive yourself, you will not, because now that you have repaired and corrected, you will no longer accept that subconsciously deep in your mind, I deserve to suffer in this lifetime because of everything that I've done in the past. You will not accept this. You will know I deserve better. I deserve healing. I deserve abundance. I deserve love. I deserve joy. Now, here is the other thing that I have also discovered. A lot of time we have karma with people, family members and friends and so on and so forth. And in a healing session that I did earlier, one person discovered that they actually took the karma of their schizophrenic father. And this is why they are struggling right now in their life. This person had a very big karma of something very complex and complicated, and out of empathy and care for them, because they are trying to change the person and trying to, whatever, they took their karma. The father is deceased, but she's still trying to carry his karma. Now she needs to do the Ho'oponopono to release that karma, because that's the problem that she's dealing with. Half of her problem is not hers, it's her father's. We are very complex people. And we, particularly when you grow up Christian, you think that you have to sacrifice yourself from other people. And therefore you take responsibility to be the good one, and you absorb their negativity unbeknown to you. And thus, your life begins to unravel. And it's not even your karma, it has nothing to do with you. Any questions or any comments? I'm trying to train you and bring you to a point of understanding that if you, given the fact that everything is in acceleration, everything is quickening, everything is moving fast, the lesson that you need to learn, there is enough time for you to learn all of them to remove at least 51% of your karma in a sin. What you don't want to happen is for all of your lesson to come to you all at once, because that will create a true spiritual crisis for you, psychological, emotional crisis, and you will not be able to handle it. So you need to understand this and also allow yourself space. This is why I was talking about isolating yourself. So if certain people are the trigger point, family members, friends, and so on and so forth, disconnect, create distance. You don't hate them. You don't, you just give yourself room so that you can process these things correctly. If you happen to be more pensive and more withdrawals from friends and family members, again, it's because you're going through something big. You're trying, and I remember saying this last year to friends and family members, I'm processing, I'm trying to figure something out. Give me space. I need to process this. I need to understand what's going on in me and for me. You can say that to people and be honest with yourself. What part do you play in the karma that you think with them? If you're around them and you're feeling unhealthy every time you are, maybe it's because you're trying to change them. Maybe you should, let me put it to you this way. The only people that can hurt you are the people that you love or you care for. So if you are feeling a certain way about connection that you have to people, it's because on some level you care for them very deeply, and your expectations in terms of reciprocity are not being met. And if that is the case, then isolate yourself, separate yourself from them. That's one solution. Or the other solution is the deeper solution is to begin to realize, am I projecting something toward them that's equally toxic? That's my 50%. Am I projecting toward them something that's equally toxic, that's causing them to react in a certain way toward me? It's just a rhetorical question.
Yeah, those are important too. Pierre, it reminds me of, this is Esther. Many, many years ago, it was a conversation between my grandmother and me. And she had one perspective, and I was about 12 or 13. So, at that point, for me, she was an old lady, And so you always know more than the old people at that point, And so she had a perspective, and mine was very different. And I remember we talked all day long. She's telling me her perspective. I'm telling her my perspective. And we did this like at least for 12 hours, almost nonstop. And I remember the end of the day, my grandmother was able to carry on with her regular routine. And I was so burnt out, I couldn't even eat my dinner. I didn't even have the energy to eat dinner or either to do my regular chores and stuff. I just had to go to bed. And the next day I thought about that and I said, never again. Mm-hmm. She taught me that people have different opinions, and yours is yours and theirs is theirs. And you are not in a position to judge. You just have to acknowledge what is. And I said, after reflecting on that for a day or two, that I would never do that again. And, it began to make me a little more aware of boundaries. And, it doesn't matter what the other person's perspectives are, they are theirs. and yours is yours. And that's the way I guess it's supposed to be. Because what you do when you're out there changing other people's, you're using up all of your energy. And you're not doing it in a way to grow yourself or clarify yourself. So these challenges that I see are helping me to clarify me, you know, and not get entangled with the other person, if that makes sense. I'm not sure that even makes sense, but anyway, you know, it's a way of helping to clarify and helping you to grow and helping you to really clarify your own preferences in terms of how you want to spend your energy and who you are, who you would like to be, your purpose here on this planet at this particular time. And you know, one poem that I learned when I was in middle school, and I used to know it verbatim, but now I know the essence of it more than every word. It's the poem "If" by Kipling. And to me, that is a true poem about understanding the difference between attachment and preference. And I don't know whether maybe nobody know that poem but me. It's the name of the poem is "If."
I'll take a look.
Well, I mean, I don't really know it. It's something like I don't know. It's like, if you can hold your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, and you know, it just goes on. But anyway, but it's a poem that I love, and I would suggest that if other people want to check it out, check it out.
Thank you, Esther. You've said quite a bit. Thank you for sharing. And for me, the thing that it triggered for me is that it's the idea of giving the person the same honor that and the same grace that God gifted you. The understanding and the knowledge that you have right now took you years to come to. And the insight that you got, how God gifted you, and the breakthroughs, what we call download. All of a sudden, there was an epiphany. Oh my God, this is what I'm doing wrong, all of that. If you keep telling people what they need to do and they don't have the opportunity to have that same epiphany, you're robbing them of their karma, of their opportunity to do their correction and their repair. That's what I mean about karma. You're taking their correction away from them. And that's going to create a different karma for you, because that's now going to become your load, because you took that burden for you. And this is the way karma works.
When it wasn't yours, right?
It wasn't yours. No, it wasn't yours.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't yours. It was, if you had just, and a lot of us do this because we mean well. We are good-hearted, and we don't do this because it's malicious. We do this because we're kind, and we're trying to, we see the problem with our friend, because people don't, you know, people don't have the right perspective. They don't see their problem sometimes. And you're on the outside and you see it, and you're like, this is what you need to do. Bah, 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 bah. And you're like, do this. And the person is disempowered. They can't do it because they it's not that they don't know. And I remember talking to somebody because of what I went through. And this woman was talking about her son who has all these problems, and all of this horrible stuff is happening to him. I can't believe that a person can be blah, 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 grown man that's this age and doing ta. She went on and on and on and on. And I said to her, I understand why because of what I went through. I understand. Because if I didn't go through that experience, I would be just like you. I would not have the empathy. Now that I have gone through this, and I can understand the disempowerment where you feel literally you're so overwhelmed and disempowered in the morning, you barely can do your normal daily appearance routine. The fact that you take a shower is a big deal because you're so scared. And right now, from the Elmo experience I just told you, the planet is scared. What the planet needs now is more people to listen and say less judgment. We need to listen to other people with our entire being and with our heart completely open. Instead of trying to judge, we should and be tactical and analyze. We should listen so that we can understand. So that when somebody is coming to me with that particular experience, my son, blah, 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 and I'm like, I understand. If you want, I will talk to him because I understand. Because I've been there. I'm him. I was him a few months ago, a year ago. I understand. It's not that you don't know. Yeah, it's not that you don't know. It's that when you're going through it, you're not capable of reacting because you're stunned. You never thought in a million years that you would be that disempowered. You're stunned. Yes, Esther, please, I cut you off.
Oh, no. I was just, well, I had this thought about it. I guess it might have been, I think it was in your 6 o'clock sessions a few months back, where you, and I'm rephrasing this, and it'll probably be very crude because, I'm just recalling what I think I recall, but not in the same, definitely not in the same words. The thing is that we are presented with, and I'm just going to say situations, issues, whatever, because this is something we need to pay attention to for ourselves more so than the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So when this is happening, it's also not in terms of what you see or hear or wish for the other person. I think it's also about listening to your essence, your soul, where you need to grow or would like to grow, or part of your purpose that you want to go deeper into. So I'm saying that it's not just the other person, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You notice certain things, and maybe there are insights you can share. However, all of it comes back to us, the individual, in terms of how we ground ourselves and what is our purpose. And all of it is helping us to sharpen that, to go deeper in that. And so it's a bold invitation to not only notice others and be aware, but more importantly, to notice and be aware of us and our purpose here and our decisions we are making or not making and how this is moving us deeper
Mhm.
into accomplishing something meaningful, which is the reasons why we are here
Yep.
at this particular moment, if that makes sense.
Girl, why are you reading me? You're dead.
What?
I said, why are you reading me? You're dead on.
Oh, well, Pierre, that's what happens when you say what is that word you used to use? When you think, you didn't use the word think.
Yeah, yes. You see, what you're saying is exactly what I was going to segue in, because what happened is that when you try to tell this person, do this, blah, 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 the stuff about the situation that bothers you exists in you. And I'm going to say this right now because I've been accused of this, and it's absolutely correct. I was accused of this afternoon, and it's absolutely correct, just correct. I tend to speak and talk too fast. I remember having a conversation very recently with somebody, as recently as last week, when blah, 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 and I remember saying, slow down, you're running like a freight train. I'm not hearing what you're saying. Repeat the whole thing again. This time, slow it down by 3 times so that I can assimilate and process it. And I'm guilty of the same thing. And I know this in me because I have a lot of fire signs. And I tend to, particularly when I'm inspired spiritually, I tend to talk too fast. Sometimes so fast that I don't breathe. I feel like I'm about to pass out. Because I want to get it all out, get it all as it's coming in. And I have to acknowledge that part in me, that a lot of times when I try to, because people I love, because it's only people I love that I do this to, that I love, I want them to get there at the same speed I'm getting there. It's a continual lesson. I have to tell you, for my mom, she was the person that I loved the most in my life. And I remember the day when I thought I became an adult, it's when I stopped trying to change her.
Mm.
The day that I realized she's going to die the way she is and I cannot change her. And I have to let go. I have to stop trying to change her. So much so that my mom used to say all the time, who do you think you are, my dad? She used to joke about this all the time because I'm always telling her what she should be doing. But I remember so clearly that day where I was like, okay, she's going to die the way she is. That perception will not change. However she exists now, whatever her perception is, it is not my responsibility to change her. And this is the day I began to disconnect my karma from her and claim my own personhood and independence from her. So you're absolutely right. When we have karma and emotional connection with people, we tend to do this. We lose perspective a lot because, again, the person is a mirror. Whatever you see in them that's bothering you and they should be doing X, Y, Z, it actually exists in you. If you really are looking at it, you say it once and they don't follow it, let it go. And if it's still bothering you, it's because of your attachment to the outcome. Let God find a way to get them there. You can pray for them and support them, but you don't need to keep bringing it up because, you say it after 3 times, 4 times, you're a nag. You're an annoying nag. They don't want to hear it anymore. They will explode. They will get upset. Stop saying it. Walk away. And when they say something to you, if they keep repeating the same thing, and they repeat it again, they bring the situation again to you, They are not seeking, there is a difference between hearing. If you hear it, you're gonna hear it frontal lobe and you're gonna try to give them answers so that they can solve it. This is the way men are in general. We listen from here, okay, from frontal lobe. So you tell us something and we're like, you should do X, Y, Z. Women generally are in their heart and it's more about listening. And when somebody says something to you, you try to, instead of hearing them, you try to understand the state that they're in and try to figure out a way to truly hear them for the first time. So if they bring it back to you, it's because no one so far has heard them. No one has heard their pain or their agony and the fact that they feel stunned or feel disempowered. No one has understood that thought. And if you understand it, you should mirror it back to them. You don't have to give them solution. In fact, don't give them solution. They don't need the solution. What they need at that moment is for you to mirror back to them and say, I understand that you say that you're stunned. I understand that you say you're disempowered. And more to the point, I understand this because I was like this XYZ ago. And that in itself will diminish their suffering by 50%. Just that part. Because it will demonstrate through empathy. I have to remember, I was reminded this afternoon, a few hours ago, I have to remember to slow down and to stop going too fast. Because not everybody can comprehend or go through things at the same speed that I am. I have to remember this and be more in listening mode. Because when I'm doing other things, particularly I was writing, I was trying to get information down and typing them, I tend to go more frontal lobe and less heart. So I respond from that space and it comes out in a very different way than what I would wish I had said. So it's a nuance for me that I need to work on. But again, the mirror is there. If someone is reflecting something to you, it's because it exists in you. And again, when you respond to them, empathy. You don't need to be right. You don't need to tell them what to do. You don't need to, be correct. You can choose not to communicate with them at all if they're too disempowered and they're too bothersome to you, or if they're still in your life, particularly if they're family members and friends, you need to become non-attached to the outcome. Let them figure it out on their own. And if they really want somebody to hear them, sit down and open your heart and listen from a place of, I've been in that space. I know what that feels like. And if you have not been in that space, don't worry. The galactic equator crossing is 2030 and beyond. You're going to be in that space. And you finally will understand how come they were unable to do what you told them to do. You're gonna know it. Because it's a lesson that we all need to learn. Any other questions or comments?
Pierre, I have something to say. Can you hear me?
Sure, kid. Go ahead.
Well, I am reflecting on what everyone is sharing, and as you know, I practiced Taoism since I was a little girl, and there's a saying: "It is one moon that shines on 1,000 rivers," and it means that people get the spirit in different ways. Their river may be at the bottom of the mountain, meaning their soul. And somebody else's river is cascading, in the forest. And I think that's very important. And another analogy they use in Taoism about the stillness is, and the moon being the metaphor for spirit, is that the moon is to reflect upon a still water. And so, that's, we can't enlighten somebody else by telling them what to do. They have to receive the moving, be it whatever you call it, in whatever faith, Holy Spirit or divine source, in their own being, and be moved to their own awareness. I think that's what the free will is. And so I don't quite know. I know this is something I grapple with myself, as you know, because you've helped me so much from my indoctrination by the Catholic Church at such a young age, before being in a convent day school, that if I didn't go around trying to help everybody like Jesus did, I would be insufficient or going to hell, not doing my duty. And I think that is like a major addiction, a major brainwashing that we all seem to have. And I try to honor, because I live out here in a very remote area, and people believe some very, very strange things. And one of which is that, there's a very active Mormon church. And I just try to see like how it feels, because even though I have Mormon friends, as you said, it just, I deserve to have my own belief systems, my own way. When they try to lecture me because they were trying to save my soul, so to be sure I'm in heaven with them. But that's what many of the churches are doing on the whole planet. I mean, that's why we're at war. It's either over land or power, or some bizarre concept in the human race that we actually can indoctrinate other people on how to get to heaven.
Yep.
It's very, I just don't get it. I was telling that friend, Pavel, I never said, trying to acknowledge, it's going on for years. Like, well, I appreciate that the Mormon Church was a path for you, but I'm on my own path. And getting the poor person, or they get so upset they think I'm not going to go to heaven, try to make it lighter. Well, I'll be in the New Orleans section, and I'll come visit you guys in the Mormon section, but trying to be funny, cope with being funny. But it just seems like it's maybe a deflection that we've all become addicted to, for some kind of ways we're indoctrinated, and instead of looking at the hard work of becoming ourselves, or the gentle work of growing, we're running around trying to tell everybody else what to do. And I've been really trying to separate from that, and just find another way, like to just kind of wish them the best, or hope the God makes their path. Because in one way, it's none of my business. And I think that I hope that in like whatever I'm experiencing in the getting out of the 3D world, and look at the terrible political situation, geoclimate situation that we're in all over because of these exact, I don't even quite, inflated belief systems. So just really trying to free myself of that, because I think a lot of the times it's just kind of a misplacement of focus because of the way these churches have been, the institution of the churches,
Right. So,
not the spirit of the churches.
yes. So the way I would actually the wisdom in that is that is you have somebody like this in your life, he's a mirror for your own inner indoctrination from the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah,
So,
definitely.
so in other words, as someone is saying this to you, it's the universe saying, "Kid, look inside of you. You have the same thing." So now you need to go within yourself and heal that part of you that has that same false belief as well. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah, I do. I get it. It's that's the lesson
Yes.
and the awareness. And the other thing is that now I just it's just even a matter of getting better or getting more whatever we're getting etheric or in the light. Sometimes it just does just feel heavy or good? Does this, can I digest? It's almost like eating something. So that's my 25 million cents worth. And I also, because I have that problem that when people told you could you speak slower, because I'm from the deep south and I'm trying to understand the words, not just the insight or the vibration. Yeah, and so it was interesting because especially being from New Orleans, where we all had to let go of everything already, that's almost 20 years ago that Hurricane Katrina hit. That and I meet other people out here in Joshua Tree who want to go, and I realize they're going to have their own experience there. So we're all having our own experiences with the energy accelerating. Yeah, in our own, whatever you call it, the negative ego, whatever we were born into from former lives and our belief systems. Yeah, I mean, I know I get the thing about the physical things, but I think it must be, maybe it's harder being in the city. Out here, we're very in touch with Gaia, like I'm watching this weather pattern, and it's so, I've been feeling it too, it's so strong that, moving through, I get maybe in New York, you could feel it more with the energy moving over, it's just an island. I'm kind of separating from my subject, but that's what I think of about the one moon on the 1,000 rivers. That ancient image from ancient Taoism.
Yep.
Before we had cities, before we had computers, divine source has been pouring itself on the planet all along.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then we've had to create these unbelievably strange ways that people have of fitting it into packages.
Yeah.
So the final one I like is trying to fit God in a belief system is like trying to fit the ocean in a suitcase.
Yep.
So we're all going through it, unpacking our suitcases or our belongings or whatever metaphor we want to use.
Yep.
And I guess it's because we love other people that we want them to come along on the trip with us, right?
No, totally. It's coming from a good place, but that place is also opportunities for us to go internal. That's what Cornine did, which is to whatever is the offense is an opportunity to look within you to see where in what way that same toxicity may exist in you and heal that. Because the moment you forgive yourself and heal that, then the outside thing, the offense, will not offend you anymore.
Right.
It will cease to sting. It will simply stop.
Yep, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
If it's not too
Sure, Janice.
stupid a question, maybe is the word. Why do we have to go through a physical incarnation and face this? Can we not fix all this in non-physical form? Is there some special ability or opportunities that physical form incarnating in this case as humans allows us?
Okay, there are all kinds of lessons that we learn in different dimensions. Okay? But in the 3D, we learn more. The growth is more accelerated because we make more mistakes and we learn more. That's the truth. And okay, if you remember, I had in the book that I'm writing now, I talk about this quite extensively. There is a difference between parallel world and dimensional realities. Parallel world or horizontal to the 3D world. They are different versions of the 3D reality. For example, there is a xenophobic parallel world that certain people, a group of people are moving into. There is the hedonistic world that similar to 3D, but pleasure, sexual, whatever. This is what this pretending to be spiritual, but all in sacred sexuality. That's what this energy is about, and so on and so forth. Out of all the ones that I've enumerated, only one of them, which is the path of accelerated spirituality, the path that I'm teaching, or people like me are teaching, it's the only path that will allow you to shift dimension, which is to rise. And what I mean by dimension, it means that there are direction in space, because a dimension involves traveling in space. For example, when you have a 0 dimension, you have a dot. When you have 2 dimension, you have a dot that's now aligned, where a being that's 1-dimensional can travel in only one direction. When you have 2 direction, okay, like a line that are crossing each other, what you have now is a plane, a flat sheet, where the 2-dimensional being can go up or one direction in this way. But when you have 3D, you have a volume that where people can go sideways, front, back, up, and down. So you can travel 3 ways. A 4th dimension would involve a space-time connection. When we can travel and the reason I'm mentioning this, Janice, it's because you already have a part of you in all these other dimensions. And that part of you is already learning what it needs to learn in that dimension. But the Janice that's here in 3D need to learn the lesson in the 3D world. Because you exist everywhere in the universe simultaneously. In parallel world, in dimensional world as well. So you don't need to think about the Janice. And the truth be said, that the right way to think about this is that if you have, and this is the reason why we do all this emotional intelligence work, because the reason why you cannot transpose yourself in an instant, because the space-time, the 4th dimension, the space-time continuum, axis that allow travel instantaneously when you are in the universe. That's what it does. It's the quantum physics law of superposition, that Janice exists everywhere in the universe. And the reason why Janice consciousness is focused here is because Janice is entrapped and being seduced by her 5 senses, or 5 physical senses. But if Janice was more emotionally intelligent, socially intelligent, and spiritually intelligent, she could shift her consciousness to a space and time location anywhere in the universe. What do I mean by this? Let's say you're walking down the street and you cross a sidewalk. Okay, you cross the sidewalk. A second later, a bus or a car travel and cross the sidewalk along you, along the same path. If time and space were aligned correctly, you would have hit the bus. That cross line is what is called a world time. So in order for Janice to travel to, let's say, a fifth dimensional body at will, she has to disconnect to the 3D 5-sense perception into a space world time of a different coordinate. But for that to happen, Janice has to be in such, all of us intend and unintend 3 to 5 times per minute. For that to happen, Janice has to be in such emotional, your entire energy body has to be emotionally at rest. Because when you intend, your body will move. Your consciousness will just leap, and then you will, like an electron in a quantum field that can move from one side of the universe to another in a flash. You just reappear somewhere else. I know that's not the answer you were looking for, Janice, but this
Ask
is,
for it, Janice.
It was, no, you're probably right, but it was very good. I know we're in a hologram here, and it's all.
Yeah, Pierre, are you selling tickets to this? Can we get a bus ticket at the booth and go through a scanner and it will like release it and we'll zoom away?
I'm telling you, I know that's what you are looking for, but again, I'm going too fast. I know this.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. You're talking about existing in one parallel and existing everywhere
Yes,
at the same time.
yes,
The understanding that I have from what you just said, you have to detach, let's say, to the third world, world that we're
Eventually.
living here,
Yes.
in order to move and join yourself to the other
yes.
parallel world. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
Now,
This is why
Now-
attachment becomes the real problem. Yes, go ahead.
now, it has nothing to do with the soul extension, does it?
Yes, some of our soul extension exists. The 144, the monad exists in other worlds. Yes, it does have to do with it. It does.
Wow.
Yes. But it's more extended than that because our soul extension is only planetary. So remember what I said, when you reassemble your monad, okay, that monad at a planetary level is a soul extension into a solar identity that Marjorie has, which is composed of another 140 other fragments. Now your solar monad is a soul extension in a galactic monad, and so on and so forth. That's why you
So-
exist everywhere in the universe simultaneously.
So, Pierre, your soul extension, let's say that it merged to your soul extension in the 4th dimension or the 5th dimension or whatever the case, or another parallel world.
Yes.
Okay. So when you were talking about the merger with the soul extension, when you merge with that extension, you're getting sometimes all the habit and all the thing that extension and the knowledge that the extension had, right?
Yes.
You're getting all that. So in other words, you can also be infected by that, right?
This is the reason why if you pay careful attention in the entire system I've given you, because we did all of this. In the Mighty I Am presence protocol I gave you, there's a prayer in there where you're asking for the merger to happen.
Yes,
Or
yes,
they're
I remember.
responsible for the cleansing and the purification and for their own karma. In other words, your fourth dimensional self may be struggling to something, okay? What you're trying to merge with is the ascended version of you in 4D, and the ascended version for you in 6D, 7D, and so on and so forth. You don't
The
need
ascended. Okay.
okay? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I understand it better. Thank you.
Yes. You don't
With
need
the
to connect
quantum
with
physics and everything.
yeah, you don't need to connect to the infected version and the one that you don't need to share another karma. You got enough on your plate. Okay? Yeah. But the idea of doing the emotional intelligence work is that it will unclog your energy body, because your emotional body is your energy body. And when you have unraveled and own responsibility and ask forgiveness for all of these things, you can move your entire body at once by non-attachment to everything. This is what the Buddhists call enlightenment. This is what Kuan Yin
Well,
was.
this is what Jesus used to do too.
Yes, and this is what Kuan Yin in the Heart Sutra kept saying, that emptiness is form and form is emptiness. That if you can realize this, that you begin to realize that the nothing is everything. And you can accept. This is why when I take you to meditation and I take you deep into that state of stillness, where you release all attachment, fears, and control, and you release all of these things, and you get to a point, and suddenly you go into this white volume. It's when you have surrender and let go of everything. That white volume, it's you begin to identify yourself as a multi-dimensional being, as existing everywhere all at once. This is actually your true nature. Not with your hair and the eyebrows done and, the cute dress that you're wearing, or it's none of that.
Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, any other questions or comments?
That means then that we exist everywhere. That means that we exist in 1D and 2D as well.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
So wherever we are making mistakes and learning and growing from them, but we never leave the dimension because we exist everywhere.
Yes.
Well,
Are you ready?
that sounds like a trap.
Are you ready for the deep fry?
Okay, give it to me.
Okay. Here is another truth. We never left God. All of the dimension and all aspect of ourselves, it's just a dream. We were never trapped.
But I remember you said that God seeks to understand through our experiences.
Correct. Correct. So the dream that we're all dreaming, and that we're descending and fragmenting all of that, and we're making all these choices, because in the uncreated, in the vast continents, everything exists as a potential for manifestation. My short experience in that blessed field, in that white space, in that white volume, is that there are all kinds of multiple things that are so immense, my consciousness as human being in 3D cannot grasp it. But there's an infinite number of things that are happening in that space. All of them keeping me at rest as endless potential. But they exist as potential. When we physically incarnate or dream that we're incarnating, it's God dreaming that it's descending as a way to follow what would happen in dimensional reality to that intention. And when we reascend back, we bring back now experiential knowledge of following it down the dimensional scale and bringing it back. And thus, instead of it being a potential for manifestation, it becomes a known thing. Thus, God grows and expands. This is why God is infinite. If you can imagine, we are one planet in a Milky Way galaxy that has over 1 trillion planets. Let's say 1/4 of them or 1/3 of them have exo-Earth planet, they are inhabitable with beings that all that kind of, generally speaking, are kind of like us. All of them have billions of people in them. And all of them are learning, and this is just one galaxy. How many galaxies there are? Now with the new Webb telescope, we're finding whatever we thought was 500 billion. It's a lie, because the space we thought were dark because of this new telescope, there are billions of galaxies in those spaces. And this is just one universe. So God is infinitely learning because of this. Did that answer your question, Janice?
Yeah, you fried me good.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do a closing meditation, and I'm gonna bring in the Lord of Karma again, okay? 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. Realize that you can perceive 360 degrees. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. What kinds of information, knowing, insight, expansions, and breakthrough does your body have to share with you? What discomfort, disempowerment, or karma may show up for you? We call forth the Lord and the ladies of karma, the divine director, Lady Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Lady Portia, Lady Nada, Pallas Athena, Lady Justice, and Elohim Cyclopia. And we ask the karmic board to give us the insight, the knowing, and the information needed to demonstrate our 50%, our repair and our correction in our karma. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, Pierre, I have to sit with this more. Again, an incredible, almost unbelievable experience. There was nothing connected to this incarnation, any past incarnations here, or any incarnation, but to the deep original soul Shane.
The original Better Shame. Wow.
Isn't it? It was off. I mean, it was just on the primal
Yes.
level.
Wow. How
Wow.
blessed you are. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You
That's
go, girl.
that's why I said I think I'm going to have to sit with this a little
Yeah,
longer.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh
Wow.
my, thank you, thank you. That was profound, the connection to the
Wow.
beautiful karmic board.
Wow. Well, I want to thank all of you for listening tonight. And anybody else want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say mine was just, I mean, it leaves me speechless because, I mean, it was kind of like part of a movie vignette. And it was, I didn't make it out. Some of it was just not clear. And it was a lot of open space, land, trees, but they looked like they were in kind of a shaded, dark, it was picture. And then there was an animal that showed up. And this animal, I wasn't able to make it out first. And then it was a lion.
Mm.
And then, not too far away from the lion, maybe 20, 30, 50 feet, there was a deer.
Mm.
And I don't know, the lion crossed the road, and I don't know what happened to the deer. But anyway,
Or it
that
could
was
be,
it.
it could be the fierceness of the lion. You should look at the symbology of it. And the innocence of the deer. Those are qualities of opposite, what may appear polar opposite, that you have to reconcile in you.
Say that again, Pierre.
I said they may be polar opposite, the fierceness of the lion and the innocence of the deer. Those are polar opposites that you have to reconcile in you.
Oh, okay.
I want to thank
Wow.
all of you for listening tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, we want to thank you for your support. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Sending you my deepest love, and keep doing the real work, friends. I love you. Talk to you next week. Good night.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Love you.